Hey guys, it's Mark from Erickson Machine and Performance. I've had a bunch of customers asking me, hey, I want to work on my own skis. What type of tools do I need to do the job? What should I invest in? What don't I need? So I decided I put together a whole bunch of tools to show you guys, and you guys could choose what you guys end up wanting to use. So let's get started. Alright guys, so before I start, if you guys want to help support the channel, we have sticker packs available through our Facebook and Instagram. We also have t-shirts, stuff like that. If you guys want it, please go check us out over there. Love your support. Like always, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. It's greatly appreciated. We just broke 1,000 subscribers, which is awesome. We super appreciate it. So you guys want to work on your own stuff, you wonder what tools are needed. So this is a big assortment of stuff. Obviously you don't need all of it, but I figured I'd show you some of it. So if you're going to be rebuilding your jet ski, you're going to need certain tools. If you're going to do electrical work, I recommend buying a good multimeter. So this is my Fluke meter. I've had the thing for years. I'm of the opinion of buy once for life. So I normally try not to buy cheap stuff because I end up using it so much that I'll end up having to replace it multiple times. So, but everybody's budget's different. So, this is a fairly expensive meter, but you don't need that. Another thing, this is mainly for testing, looking for issues. We're going to start off in that way. Another thing, a IR temp gun. They're fairly inexpensive. Great way to find out, if the cooling system's working right, if something's going wrong, so on and so forth. So an awesome tool to get. Continuing on with testing, we'll go to a gauge, a compression gauge. So if you're wondering if the engine's hurt, you need a compression gauge. This is somewhere where more people get in trouble because they go and buy a cheap gauge from some cheapo company. They check it, the compression's super low or all over the place. They take the whole engine apart, they find out there's nothing wrong with it. I recommend people, you can normally find a really good gauge for, under $100 used. If you look on, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, even eBay, in general, a good gauge. The only thing that's going to go bad with them, if it was well cared for, are the straighter valves, which are really, really cheap. I think straight from, this is a Matco gauge. I also have a Snap-on that's a backup. I think the straighter valves from, the name brand companies are, 5 valves for $10 or something ridiculously cheap like that. And you replace it, you basically have a brand new gauge that you can trust. So I really, really recommend going with a name brand gauge so that you know that the numbers you're reading are correct. I've seen people with Harbor Freight gauges that are 20 pounds more or 30 pounds less, and people have no idea what their compression is at that point. Another good gauge for testing is a pop-off gauge. So this is one tool that more people use when I don't think it's necessary. This is a great tuning tool also to check if your needle and seat is leaking. But in general, if you have a perfectly running ski and you're checking pop-off, you're really only checking if the needle and seat is leaking at that point. Unless it's a super old ski that the spring's tired. But at that point, it's going to be a gradual change. It's not going to be an instantaneous, your ski's running great and all of a sudden it's running like crap, other than the needle and seat leaking. So great gauge for tuning, also great for looking at needle and seat leaking issues, but I think people take more merit in this gauge then is really necessary, because carburetors to a lot of people are kind of like black magic, and there's very few numbers you get other than being able to hear the performance, see it, check it, read the plugs. This is one of the few tools on a carburetor that you actually get a number, so people really get glued to it. But you can adjust the pop-off up or down a little bit and adjust that through the needles and still have a perfectly running ski. So be careful how much mind you pay to this tool. Another tool, which I'm getting ready to release a video because I'm making adapter plates for different engines. So this is the pressure testing gauge that I built years ago. It works great. So this is how I pressure test engines after I assemble them. Super, super easy gauge to assemble. So all I have is, it's a pressure regulator that I set at the very, very lowest. So I set it at 8 pounds. A shutoff valve. So it's an air nipple, a regulator with a gauge, into a shutoff valve, into a T with a very sensitive gauge. So you want a good gauge, and you want it to be anywhere from 20 to 30 psi max, so that you can see small movements in pressure when you're checking an engine if there's a leak after you assemble it. And then just a nipple to go to the pulse fitting. I'm going to be doing a whole video on pressure testing engines, and also showing you how to make this exact gauge, but this is what I use. So those are some of the main testing tools, let's say. Now let's talk about assembly and disassembly tools. One of the main things that people overlook are screwdrivers. Most jet ski carburetors, although they look like Phillips head, they're actually JIC, which looks like Phillips head, but it actually isn't. So getting a good set of JIC screwdrivers, Vessel, let me get this up here, is the brand that I use. They're not expensive. They make this one screwdriver, which is great because it's interchangeable. It comes with a couple different tips. I think it's about 20 bucks. Very well worth it. You get one of these screwdrivers and you take apart your carbs, you're not going to strip screws. Another screwdriver that's extremely important, impact screwdriver. So the way this works is you take, the way I do it is I'll take the tip, I'll put it in the screw, I'll whack it with a hammer once just to set it in the screw so it's seated well. I'll set it, you make sure you're in the right direction, and you hit it, and the impact will loosen the screw for you without stripping it. These you can also buy pretty cheap. As I said, this is a Mac, so it's fairly expensive, but if you're doing this on the weekends for buddies or whatever, one you buy from Harbor Freight or one you buy from elsewhere is going to be more than good enough. Next, removing flywheels. So depending on the ski you have, depends on the flywheel you have to remove. So like Kawi 1100s, you actually have to thread this onto the front of the flywheel, and then this screw extracts it. Any puller that I use, I put anti-seize on the threads, so that way if it's super tight you don't end up galling the threads as you're removing and everything. It's just a practice that I've used over the years. Same Kawi 750 and 800s, they use a puller bolt, which you can purchase a whole bunch of different places. So this is that puller bolt. This just threads into the flywheel, hits the crankshaft, and pulls the flywheel out. Works great. They make specific flywheel pullers for different PWCs, which have the holes in the exact location. I've had really, really bad luck with these over the years. This is what I used to use and I stopped, and I went to just a standard puller, like this large set. What ends up happening, I don't know if it's the quality of the tool, but I mean, they were expensive. They always strip. So I have, for the past 10 or 15 years, only used that style puller. And I've had great success without an issue. So, you know, in general, that is the way that you're going to remove a flywheel. Now, coupler, there's a few different coupler tools. I only took 2 of them out. So this is a Yamaha 701, which is like the clover shape. This is the Yamaha, the Kawisaki 650, 750, you know, a lot of the different Kawis. This is actually the replacement to this tool that I just got in from Watcon. I got to give Watcon a lot of credit. This tool is an awesome tool. Granted, I've had this tool for over 10 years, but if you can see, it is whooped. Granted, I build a lot of engines and this has lasted me a long time, but it's just standard steel. Like if you grab a file, you can see it cuts in. A file test is a good way to find out if material's hardened. You can hear the difference. This doesn't actually do it. This is a tool steel that's then hardened. Awesome tool that Watcon makes. Great company, awesome to deal with. I've had really good success. The tools, I believe, are right around the same money, so you're getting a much better part. I look forward to taking a whole bunch more couplers off with this tool. But that basically shows you the coupler tools. Now, when it goes to removing props, that's where it gets interesting because there's a million different combinations of tools. You know, for a Yamaha, you could end up having any of these different tools. So if you have a new jet prop, you need a tool. If you have a Solus prop, I believe there's 2 different tools that you could use. If you have a Scat Track prop, you're going to use a tool like this. So when you buy a prop, make sure you buy the correct prop tool for it, or you're going to have issues. And then on a Yamaha, you're also going to use a drive shaft tool. So this will hold the splines on the drive shaft while you put the prop tool in, and then you break the prop loose that way. On Kawasaki's and Sea-Doos, so in general, you'll use just a tool like this, where you'll hold the back shaft of the pump in a vise, slide this in the nose of the impeller, and knock it off with an impact gun. So that gives you an idea on prop tools. Now, if you want to adjust props, I'm going to be doing a video on how to pitch an impeller coming up soon. Watcon also makes an awesome gauge. So this is a pitch gauge. So basically, when you're looking at the numbers on the impeller, that's actually the degree of the blade. So there's a few different ways you can check that degree. In the video, I'm going to go more into it. The easiest way, though, is with one of these tools. So you just set the prop in it, and you match the degree of the impeller blade with the degree on the tool, and you're good to go. And then if you want to adjust it, I'm going to show you how you bend the blade accordingly to match it up, and then get ready to rock and roll again. Now, when you take an engine apart, it's always a good idea, whatever bolts you're removing, chase them afterwards. You don't want to chase bolt holes with a normal cutting tap. So these are called chaser taps. So it's hard to see, but they don't actually cut, but the way they're designed, they more roll the thread in. So it's a great way to clean a thread without damaging it. This is a great step to do when you take an engine apart, to go through all of them, to clean them, to make sure that you're not going to put a bolt in and cross thread it. If there's anything that damaged or galled a little, this is a great way to clean it up without removing extra material. Awesome set that you can get. You can get them in a complete metric or standard set, just like what's over here, and they're really not expensive. Also, pipe taps. So in general, the standard sizes used in jet skis are 1/8 NPT, which is the tiny one, and 1/4 NPT. So having, let me stress this, a good pipe tap, not a cheap $2 pipe tap you find somewhere. You know, a good pipe tap, you know, 20 bucks-ish a piece, because there's a lot of load because you're actually cutting the threads on a taper. If you buy a cheap tap, you're going to break in, you're going to hate life because it's going to cause 10 times more issues than if you just bought the right tool for the job. So I can't stress that enough. Another tool that I almost think is mandatory if you're going to be building engines, assembling engines, stuff like that, is a good set of calipers. You don't have to go buy a set of Starrett calipers, but I'd recommend going to a company like Shars, SHARS.com. They have a bunch of good, fairly inexpensive tools, measuring tools, that will do the job, that won't break the bank. Buying cheap measuring tools, you know, this is a precision measuring equipment. On top of that, it takes time to learn how to measure accurately. Just because you get one of these and, you know, you go like this, it doesn't mean you're giving the actual number. It's a skill to learn how to measure. So take your time, learn how to use them properly. What I tell people is to buy standards or like a small set of Joe blocks, which are precisely measured, precisely ground blocks, and that way you can practice measuring on them, and you know the block's accurate. So if you're reading the same number on your caliper, you know that you've learned how to measure accurately. Very, very important. And the last set of tools that I recommend having, oh, actually two more. A good set of picks, so to take clips for pistons, stuff like that, get into areas to clean them out. But once again, don't buy the cheapest piece of crap, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to be trying to clean out a little passage and you're going to break the tip off and it's going to drop inside the engine. You're going to have to take the whole damn motor apart. Or you buy a good set of tools that aren't going to break, you never have to worry about that problem. So once again, your money, you get to decide what you want to spend it on, but you know, good picks aren't really all that expensive. I recommend spending the money on it. And then the last set that I recommend, obviously, also if you guys know of any other tools you would recommend, write them down in the comments below. I want to see what I missed, what I forgot to put in here. Obviously, with everything going on in the world right now, I wanted to do a video to just, for you guys that are at home because you're not able to work, you get to work on your stuff, some tools that you might want to put in your toolbox to be able to mess with your stuff. So if you guys think of anything that I missed, please put in the comments below. I want to see it. Maybe in the future I'll make another video with whatever tools I missed. And the last is a stud puller. So there's several different designs. My favorite is this style, which is used in an impact gun. I'm getting ready to do another video showing how to remove studs, but this shows you that tool. This is normally used for a larger style stud. So what it does is it comes around, I'm just going to use a screwdriver to show you. So if the screwdriver was the stud, you come around with a ratchet and it locks in, and then you can rotate the stud. Awesome tool. As I said, my favorite is by far this style. And then the last set is this style. So it kind of looks like a spark plug socket, but it's basically a sprag, like a one-way bearing. So you put the bolt in and it locks going in the one direction, and you take them out. This is great. The only issue with these is, depending on the bolt, sometimes the shank isn't the correct size for this to lock on. So they don't always work, where this tool basically always works. So, like always, I hope you guys liked the video. Please subscribe to the channel. And you guys have a good day. Thanks again for watching, guys.